Looks like I've hooked you in for another Monster Monday, the best way to start your week. I've constructed yet another creepy crawly, as I am wont to do, to sick upon your players. Let's go ahead and take a stab at this foul fisher, the Harpoon Scorpion. I've had this idea for a while for a scorpion that could fire its stinger tail as a range attack, which it then uses to pull prey in. However, my original concepts were not distinct enough from a standard giant scorpion to really be worth building as a whole separate creature. I had to rework it a bit and refine it until I could bring you all this vision, which is beautifully illustrated by Seth Monster. Conceptually, I envision the Harpoon Scorpion as a cave dweller, most typically found alongside underground lakes and streams, where it uses its ranged tail attack to catch fish out of these waterways to eat. However, they are absolutely opportunistic, and when adventurers come knocking into their domain, they don't hesitate to partake in this larger fare. Now, getting to some of the mechanics of the Harpoon Scorpion, I settled quite contentedly into the animal trait. But when determining its level, I noticed that there was the Cave Scorpion at level 1, the Giant Scorpion at level 3, and the Scorpion Swarm at level 4. So, I built the Harpoon Scorpion to slot nicely in that lineup with a level of 2. Getting deeper into the details of the Harpoon Scorpion, I figured that its main means of hunting is its horribly hooked harpoon, so it has a high dexterity to open with. This better facilitates its ranged combat capabilities, though it does also use a moderate strength. This score does play into another portion of its kit, but I'll save that for when we get to its actual abilities. Now, with these bonuses in place, it has a between low and moderate constitution, whereas all of its mental ability scores are low, if not outright in the negatives, with wisdom actually being the only positive bonus among them. This does lead into a moderate perception score. I didn't want to go all the way to low for its perception, as this creature is a bit of a hunter type creature, and it does share some similar senses with its sinister scorpion siblings, such as dark vision and tremor sense. I similarly followed some skill designs seen on other scorpions as well, including a moderate stealth to aid it in its hunting, but then I also included an athletics bonus that is just a point above high. This might seem a little strange given its ability scores, but that athletics is actually an important part of its kit, as we will come to see. Delving into the defenses of this Dweller in the Dark, we use a high armor class as we play into the high dexterity that I initially assigned it. While it does have this high AC, its hit points veer more towards moderate. I think you could actually give it a low pool of hit points if you decide to up its offensive capabilities a bit, but I do think that my abominable arachnid angler abuses other options that I believe warrants this moderate pool. Its saving throws are fairly straightforward, as its dexterity affords it a high reflex save. Its constitution and wisdom do have similar values, but I feel that a moderate fortitude pairs well with an animal like this, which does leave it with a low will save. And like I said, I think that's a solid way to go about it, and it fits with the nature of our creature. That just leaves us with the Harpoon Scorpion's attacks, and this might be the most complex aspect of its numbers. It has 3 strikes, 2 of them being melee, and 1 being ranged. Its pincers, one of its melee strikes, have a moderate attack bonus with the Agile trait, representing the fact that they are a paired sort of natural weapon. They also have finesse, but that will be pretty standard for its melee strikes. Now, despite this Agile trait, this strike actually deals moderate damage, and that's a little strange as far as creatures I've built. I did feel safer going for a slightly higher damage, given its lower attack value, even though I use that Agile trait. Meanwhile, its remaining 2 attacks are actually both its Harpoon Stinger, except one is at range, and one is for melee. Let me know if I should have named them differently. I don't think that should be too confusing, but that might be because I'm the guy making it, so of course I wouldn't think that. Anyway, its Harpoon Stinger in either case uses a high attack bonus and low damage, and notably lacks the venom often associated with scorpions. Instead, the barbed and hooked nature of this tail affords it the grab ability when used in melee, or the impale ability when fired at range. And that brings us to its abilities. This passive effect triggers with each successful ranged strike, and requires a high DC reflex save. I did feel safe using this higher value, because the Harpoon Scorpion actually has to reel its tail back in before it can fire it again, so it can do this, at most, twice per round. Furthermore, failing the save makes a creature grabbed, but not immobilized. They can try to escape at a high DC, or just keep moving around, as long as they don't go beyond the range of our fishing line. Failing to escape this wickedly barbed stinger, by which I mean attempting to escape and failing the roll, leaves a creature with persistent bleed damage, calling to mind the poison present in the pins of our fellow scorpions. Directly related to this, the Harpoon Scorpion has access to the Reel In action. This pulls pretty directly from the Colduin, with the Harpoon Scorpion attempting an athletics check against a hooked creature's Fortitude DC, hence the slightly higher strength that I used. On a success, it pulls the creature in a bit, getting it into position to then tear it apart with its claws. Another idea that my players actually suggested during the Monster Mash was 2 Harpoon Scorpions hooking the same target, and them being able to pull a creature apart, sort of like the Macrati from Pathfinder. Conceptually, I love it, but it might be a bit much for a level 2 creature. However, rewinding to that bit about its claws, we do actually have Tearing Claws in our arsenal. This is a single action ability with the Flourish trait to keep it from being spammed or overused. It's a pretty simple effect, essentially being a flurry of blows, but where I talked about before where Persistent Bleed sort of stands in as the Harpoon Scorpion's venom, it is also present here. If the Harpoon Scorpion can land both of these strikes, it rips a fearsome wound in its prey that persistently bleeds for some minor damage. That then just leaves us with one final ability, and it is admittedly the least interesting or unique of its kit. However, Reactive Strike is always useful and is found on a few other scorpions. Like them, I restricted this to being the Harpoon Stinger only, which might make you think that it can possibly use this with its ranged strike, but that is not the case. Paizo is actually a step ahead of me this time with the fact that only melee strikes can be used to make a reactive strike, so you don't have to worry too much about it overwhelming and over-impaling your players. Hook, line, and sinker, we've got quite a catch when it comes to the Scorpion. Host of a hard hook that is honed to harm, our homely horror hauls in hordes of heroes to hand out a harrowing heaping of hurt. My Harpoon Scorpions are nasty little pieces of work that love to attack heroes from the shadows. I imagine that one of their common tactics is actually to wait at the bottom of falls in their cavern homes, and when adventurers wander too close to the edge, they hook them and pull them over to get some extra damage in there. Let me know what you think of this creature and what other creatures you'd like to see. If you dig what I've done, let me know with a like and a subscribe. I want to give a big thanks to the folks on the Patreon, with a special shout out to the Orc Overlords, that being Decaffeinate, Shybinster, and Vorthus. You too could head on over there for early access to the vids and extra content. Either way, thanks for watching and have a monstrous Monday.